Hello and welcome to Dystopian Deep Dives. Like, share, subscribe. So, I've commenced research on Patti Smith, and I want you to know that I'm trying to look at it from the angle of what they as artists were very interested in, which was subversion, and how that has shaped our current zeitgeist. That's my main thesis, let's say, when I look at this kind of stuff. It's not supposed to be necessarily a condemnation, though of course there probably will be some classic, a little bit of character assassination, but I'm more interested in just the overall contribution, let's say, Patti Smith has made to our culture at large. But this is not about Patti Smith. This is a story about Robert Mapplethorpe and his pet monkey, and it's perfectly in line with this channel. So here we go. Here's a short little quick one on Robert Mapplethorpe and his monkey. At the beginning of the semester, Mapplethorpe had moved from the apartment on Willoughby Avenue to a ground floor studio on DeKalb Avenue, which he shared with a pet monkey named Scratch. Of all the stories connected to the photographer, the monkey saga remains one of the strangest. He had purchased the animal from a Brooklyn pet store where the owner had given him a discount because the monkey was already an adult. The owner failed to tell Mapplethorpe that Scratch wasn't housebroken, and while Mapplethorpe made a few feeble attempts at training Scratch, he pronounced the monkey uncontrollable and gave it the run of the apartment. The studio was soon covered in urine and feces, and when friends first came to visit, they were rendered speechless by the squalor and by Scratch's habit of entertaining Mapplethorpe by masturbating in front of him. Yes, Robert Mapplethorpe was entertained by his pet monkey masturbating. Some members of the Pershing Rifles, and this was a fraternal order that he was a part of at one point, were convinced Mapplethorpe was having a nervous breakdown, for not only was he dressing in weird clothing, that's right, he was wearing a cape with a bowler hat around campus and smoking marijuana, but he also began to take the monkey everywhere with him. Whenever I'd see him, my heart would sink, said Stan Mitchell. I thought he was going right down the gutter. If Mapplethorpe's homosexuality was the monkey on his back, then Scratch was the living embodiment of his fears about sexual deviancy and loss of control. Okay, I guess. Or he's just like a silly young man with a pet monkey that he didn't know how to take care of. He half-jokingly described the animal as being possessed by the devil. Scratch is a nickname for Satan. But instead of returning it to the pet store, he kept forgetting to feed it, in air quotes. Forgetting here is in quotation marks. And when he returned to his apartment after a weekend away, he found Scratch's body stretched out on the floor. "Scratch is dead," he shouted hysterically over the phone to Harry McHugh, who, after offering a few words of sympathy, inquired if Mapplethorpe had completed the project for his nature structure class due the next day. The assignment was to create a musical instrument from a bone, but it was Sunday night and all the butcher shops were closed. "Where can I get a bone at this hour?" Mapplethorpe demanded. At 2 a.m. he called McHugh again and informed him that he couldn't return to his apartment because the stench was unbearable. "Scratch is boiling in a pot," he announced. Mapplethorpe had beheaded Scratch with a kitchen knife, and after boiling away the flesh, he transformed the skull into a musical instrument of such beauty that it was one of the few times at Pratt that he received an A for his work. So, I hope you enjoyed that little tale from this book that I got from the library today. Mapplethorpe, a biography by Patricia Morris Rowe. This happens to be on page 41, and it was just too strange not to share with you. I am attempting to talk about Patti Smith, like I said, in a way that I hope isn't too defamatory for people who are fans, but I, personally have never understood her popularity, but as I've been diving into her work, I think I get what her fans are about. And it's very interesting, this sort of cult-like atmosphere that she creates around herself and her persona. And an interesting story I read today was that during the pandemic, she would go to this diner at the very beginning of the whole thing, I guess before they shut everything down. And when they indeed shut everything down, they gave her a table and a chair so that she could emulate this diner experience at home. And I wanted to read her Substack that she started in 2020, but it's of course behind a paywall, and I don't think I'm going to pay to read it at this time. So we'll just stick with the Robert Mapplethorpe book. I also got Please Kill Me, which I've read, but it was 20 years ago. So this should be a fun little dive into the past and this sort of, I mean, I wouldn't call her a punk, but, you know, kind of this proto cool girl who only hung out with men, and I can't wait to see what's in this Robert Mapplethorpe book about her. It sounds like they're going to get into some really strange things together if it's already starting out as, or with Robert Mapplethorpe and this pet monkey. So this is Dystopian Deep Dives. Like, share, subscribe if you like weird stuff. Stay tuned.